The Lifestylist, episode 101, featuring Elena Brower.
I'm Luke Storey, a former celebrity fashion stylist and founder of School of Style. For the past 20 years, I've been relentlessly dedicated to my deepest passion, designing the ultimate lifestyle based on the most powerful principles of health and spirituality. The Lifestylist Podcast is a show dedicated to sharing my discoveries and the experts behind them with you. Today's episode is brought to you by my friends over at Organifi.com. Really excited about this product. I've been using it for a few months, and I've got to say, they are revolutionizing the green juice game. So you probably know that green juice is good for you, right? We see them like in 7-Eleven now and airport convenience stores. That's awesome. I'm all for it. But there's a couple of issues with green juice that I find troubling. A is a lot of times they come in plastic. B, they're loaded with sugar, up to 25 grams sometimes, which is insane. That's like a green Coke. But the main thing is they're just really inconvenient. They're not good for travel. Organifi has solved that problem by creating these single-serving packets of a really easy-to-mix, easy-to-use green juice superfood blend. It's loaded with 11 superfoods. It's got chlorella, wheatgrass, spirulina, mint, turmeric, moringa, ashwagandha, lemon, beets, matcha green tea, coconut water. Best of all, it's sweetened with monk fruit, which is a really low glycemic sugar. So it's not going to spike your blood sugar, which essentially drains you of energy, makes you crash, and ultimately could also make you fat because you don't want to be having a high sugar drink. It just is not good. So these guys make this amazing tasting, super powerful green juice powder. It also comes in a tub if you just want to have one at home. It's by far the tastiest one that I've found. There's a lot of superfood green blends around, and to be honest, a lot of them just taste gross and they don't mix well, and they're just not convenient to travel with. You'd have to make a Ziploc bag full of some green powder. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be traveling through the airport security and get caught with one of those. So if you want to check it out, I highly recommend that you do. And I've also got a little discount for you, of course. All you do is go to Organifi.com, that's spelled with an I, Organifi.com, enter the code LIFESTYLIST, and you will save 20% off your order. It's a pretty sweet deal. So again, go to Organifi.com, enter the code LIFESTYLIST, and you will save 20%. Check it out. A massive part of my health strategy is the ingestion on a regular basis of medicinal herbs and medicinal mushrooms. And my primary source for those is a company called Four Sigmatic. If you remember way back in the day in episode 8, I had a guest by the name of Taro Isakapula from this company, and we talked all about the power of these amazing herbs and mushrooms. Well, Four Sigmatic do a great job of making them not only potent, but also convenient and delicious. So they make these little packets of herbs that you add to hot water, cold water, or bulletproof coffee, whatever your recipe is. I make them with all kinds of different stuff all the time. It makes a really easy way to get this stuff into your body. And these are herbs that have a real effect on you. It's very powerful stuff. So go to foursigmatic.com, but wait, I'm going to hook it up. When you get to foursigmatic.com, enter the code THELIFESTYLIST at checkout to save 15% off your order. So you can get things like reishi mushrooms, chaga mushrooms, cordyceps, lion's mane, ashwagandha, all the good stuff that really works. So go to foursigmatic.com, enter the code THELIFESTYLIST, and save 15% off your order. Coming back at you with another episode of the Lifestylist Podcast. I am, of course, Luke Storey. I'm here at the helm, here at the mixing board at Storey Studios. Just back from a couple speaking engagements in Aspen, Colorado. Fun was had by all. Great Rocky Mountain High tour. But now, my friends, it's back to reality. Back to dropping some hot episodes on your dome. Today's being no exception because it features one of my favorite people in the world and one of the most prominent leaders in the yoga community, Elena Brower. She's a mama, a teacher, author, speaker, and general yoga godmother. She's been teaching yoga since 1999, so I got to sit down with her recently at her flat in New York City and discuss the journey. She's been influenced by several traditions, and so she offers yoga and meditation as a way to approach our world with a very realistic reverence and gratitude. So this is someone that has taken the yogic traditions and put them to use in her life and her career. Her first book, The Art of Attention, has been ranked number 1 in design on Amazon and has now been translated into 6 languages. Pretty impressive. Elena's second book, Practice You, has just been released by Sounds True. Her Elevate mentorship program is beloved worldwide for adding analog creativity to online coursework. She's also contributed to Yoga Journal, Yoga International, Huffington Post, Mind Body Green, and Well and Good. She's all over the place, y'all. And after this episode, if you want to practice with her, you can do so at yogaglow.com. You can listen to her audio courses on Sounds True, and you can find everything she does on her website, elenabrower.com. So let's jump into what's covered in this episode. Essentially, we summarize Elena's 18 years in the yoga scene, starting with her mom taking her to her first class in the 90s. Then how she was married at 35, later divorced, but still managed to maintain a happy and healthy relationship with her ex based on the principles she's been practicing for all of these years. How smoking weed and getting high as a yoga teacher and influencer made her feel like a hypocrite, and how that eventually prompted her to stop 3 years ago, and how difficult it was for her to in fact quit, and of course, how she finally succeeded to do so. What she did to overcome her imposter syndrome and self-doubt. How she continues to get clarity and stay focused on who she wants to be for her child, lover, family, and friends. Why being of service to humanity is her number 1 priority in life. How being a mom keeps her humble even though she's widely adored in spiritual and yoga circles. And how having a kid has been the ultimate equalizer in terms of keeping her down to earth. What her biggest shortcoming as a mother is and how she's getting over it. How she's worked on detoxing since she got sober 3 years ago. How she finds money, life, and work balance, and how her business and spiritual life are but one and the same. Really interesting perspective she has about all of that, which I really benefited from. I'm sure you will as well. Her secret to spiritual enterprise and financial abundance. And let me tell you what, she's doing some pretty good stuff. She's doing a great job of both of those things. So I think you're going to really enjoy hearing her perspective. And then we get into her love of essential oils and what they've done for her health and her business through her work with a company called Doterra, which I'm a huge fan of. She also gives us a few of her most coveted essential oil blends and recipes. That's something I've really wanted to cover on this show for a while, is essential oils. And it was sort of a surprise to walk in and just have her diffusers going, and there's oils everywhere. She's got some custom blends that she did for doTERRA that are fantastic. So we ended up having kind of a little add-on material there around the oils, which is cool. Why she feels most amazing when she works specifically with women. How she manages to kick ass in business but still keep her feminine energy flowing in her relationship. And how her morning yoga practice and using the power of mantras assist her in doing so. Then we talk about how she runs her business and the bizarre fact that she does not have a support team and runs the majority of her operation herself, which I found to be astonishing and was, of course, a true testament to the yogic lifestyle that she's leading. It's pretty impressive, all the plates that she's been able to keep spinning basically on her own. Her most important tool in keeping romance alive in her relationship. And then we talk about her surprising view on the current state of feminism, the crucial relationship between yoga, essential oils, and meditation. Then we talk about her views on network marketing and the fact that she believes it can be done with integrity. And finally, we talk about the current and future state of the New York yoga scene. As you can see, we cover a wide variety of topics with Elena in this conversation, but what I think is most inspiring and what I'd like you to walk away with is the fact that Elena has managed to take the seemingly esoteric spiritual principles present in yogic tradition and meditative traditions and really apply it in her life. And that's the point, is taking yoga off the mat. Not only has she applied it in her own life for her own growth, but she's also built a brand and a company based on those principles and has managed to share these truths and these practices with thousands and thousands of people all over the world, people just like me and just like you. So it brings me great pleasure to share her message with you. And I want to invite you at this point to sit back and enjoy this very special hour with our guest, Elena Brower. So great to see you, Elena. Welcome to the Lifestylist Podcast.
Thank you so much.
This is awesome. Thanks for having us in your home. You have such a beautiful space.
Thank you.
It makes me want to do yoga, play with singing bells. Like I want to meditate and chant and do breathing exercises right now.
I've set it up so that it inspires me every morning to wake up and do.
It is inspiring, actually, because my space in LA, I think it feels good and it looks nice. I'm into aesthetics. I think I have decent style for a dude. But it's not really like set up to do my practices, Right. It's like I have to make a special setup if I want to do some yoga. So I essentially don't do it at home.
Yes.
Because I'm not set up. So I'm going to take a cue from you here.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and dive right in here. I mean, as I've been researching you over the past couple months as we've booked this, I am astonished by the level of output that you have as a human being. I mean, it's like you have like seeming like 3 or 4 websites, books. Like if you look at your schedule, it's just like nonstop. You're a very prolific teacher and just, someone in the spiritual and yoga mindful community. How do you manage to do all that you do?
It's not as busy as it looks. Right at this particular moment, it is pretty busy because it's week 2 of my book launch and it's going super well.
Oh, great.
Super duper well. Number 1 in journals, number 1 in teens education and reference.
Wow.
Yeah, which was my dream.
So
my dream was
awesome.
that this thing gets into all the schools.
Awesome.
So that kids can get to know themselves emotionally, build
Right.
their emotional IQ. Number 9 or 10 in meditation, fluctuating the past 2 days. And it's in the 300s over all of Amazon.
Wow.
I know.
Wow, that's insane. That's huge because it's probably like a couple 100,000
Word.
in there, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Good for you.
It's really good. So it is a busy time at
So
this
right
moment.
now I'm seeing like a snapshot of this dizzying pace, but it's not like your life year round is like that.
No, and I'm still cooking my own food 2-3 meals a day. I'm still here for when my kid gets home.
Right.
I have other businesses that allow me to stay to be here. A couple weeks of the month, usually one weekend or a week. I'm traveling to teach, but that's getting more and more infrequent because my other business is ramping up, and I no longer need to run around.
Yeah,
which is really
that's a good place to be.
Yes.
So building up relationships and credibility over all these years that you've been on the scene is sort of getting you to the point now where you can be a little less on the jobs, so to speak, right?
Yeah, I don't have to run around and do the, trading an hour for money.
Right.
Now I have, other projects with a couple of other companies and entities where I can be at home and nurture relationships and nourish my team and see the results that way.
Cool.
Which is really kind of great.
So you got into all this stuff like in the late 90s or so, right? Started doing yoga and all this kind of deal. When you got into these different spiritual practices and stuff that you now teach, was there a specific catalyst, or were you just one of those people that was already semi-happy and just curious about taking your fulfillment to the next level?
I got taken to a class in the late 90s by my boyfriend's mom. He and I were dating at Cornell, and then when we graduated, came home and I lived part-time at his house while I was working. And his mom took me to Alan Finger's first studio on the Upper East Side. And I took a class with a great gal called Michelle. And I'll never forget it because I was so used to taking ballet classes, which were like, somebody's yelling at you the whole hour or so. And I would go in my lunch hour just to like feel my body. And I got to yoga and it was like, oh, I can be supported in my movement. Oh, I can be helped and nourished and fed and led. How revolutionary. And so I stuck with it. And it was a few years later that I actually took my first teacher training in 1997-8.
So it was just like kind of a curiosity, and once you found it, you just resonated with it. It wasn't like you had some, you're going through a divorce or a death or like something where you're like, I need help. It just kind of was a natural progression then, huh?
Yeah, I didn't get married until I was 35 or so, and then got divorced a few years later, but now we're best friends. So that wasn't it. What the divorce for me was not quite as
You're fortunate.
scandalous or dramatic
Yeah.
as I think it could have been.
Yeah.
I had good friends and good coaching, literally coaching, to help me be honest, help me tell the truth, help me be kind, be realistic, and kind of revolutionize the process for my family. And I'm so glad I did that. It feels so good.
For you, and maybe recommending to other people that are on a path and that are starting to get interested in yoga as, not like a form of exercise per se, not that there's anything wrong with that, but that are more spiritually oriented. Have you had to seek a lot of outside help other than the path of yoga in order to deal with challenges in your life? Other practices, therapy, spiritual teachers, things like that fall sort of out of the yogic lexicon?
It's found me in 2010, so 7 years ago. One of the co-founders of the Handel Group and I were introduced by a dear friend, and she effectively shifted the flavor of everything that I was doing towards a much more honest and, forthright function and engagement with the world, where I suddenly it took a few years. It took maybe 4 to 5 years. But then I found myself having so little struggle with the concept of feeling like a fraud or, dishonest or anything like that. There's none of that in my space anymore. And especially since I got sober 3 years ago, that's been a huge difference too. But yeah, I wouldn't say there was a lot of extra help, but I would say there was a fair amount that found me at just the right moment that really helped me to get clear on who I want to be in this world, and especially who I want to be for my child, my lover, my family. And that's been really helpful.
I guess that's another incentive, isn't it? Not just that if one is suffering or one is desirous of spiritual evolution just for their own good, it's actually pretty cool to think about how it's impacting other people. And I don't consciously think about that a lot. I think in my path, it started out with just abject suffering and addiction and stuff like that. And so when I got sober, which was 20 years ago, I mean, it was like out of sheer desperation.
Right.
There was like no thought like, maybe I could be a better son or a better boyfriend or whatever. It's just like, I'm going to freaking die. But
How old are you now?
46.
Oh, we're the same age.
Yeah. I got sober when I was 26. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very fortunate. That was the beginning of my path, really.
Yeah.
But now I see, just because I'm sure you experienced the same thing, is without necessarily even trying, I tend to have a positive impact on most of the people that I interact with. Like the cab driver that I just rode uptown with. We had a really beautiful interaction. He was a really sweet, friendly guy.
Yeah.
He was very interesting to me because he had an Indian accent, but he looked to be very Asian. So I was like, right when I got in, I heard his voice and then it didn't match the face. I was like, that's interesting. And we had a really great talk. And so I like to think that because of the work I've been doing, maybe I just had the tiniest impact on that guy's day. And maybe there's some other people that are less than friendly or conscious when they get in his car. But in the beginning, I definitely wasn't like doing anything to make a contribution to other people in my life. It's sort of a fringe benefit. So that's a great distinction to bring forth.
It was brought to my attention when she and I started working together.
Okay.
She was knowing that I had an audience. She was knowing that whatever I was doing was having an impact on them already. So might as well do it well. Might as well do it right. Might as well be magnanimous and loving more than you even think that you can or wish to be.
Do you think in order to be that way, that one has to really spend some time in their life facing their shadow, their suffering side, their darkness, before they're able to access that?
For sure. I spent many an afternoon sitting here, not in this particular apartment, but in this body, struggling to get over myself. I had just gotten high. And now I was trying desperately to figure out what I should do next. Do I do this work or that work? I can't think straight. I'll just clean up my closet. I spent probably 2 or 3 years struggling with myself like that. It was so dark. It wasn't life-threatening. It wasn't I can't make it dramatic, but it was dark for me because I wasn't keeping my word to myself. And that, to me, is one of the darkest places as a human we can sit. And if you're not keeping your word to yourself, you say, okay, today I'll do this, today I'll do this, and then you don't do it. Today I'll do this, today I do this, and you don't do it. It degrades your belief in what's possible in your life. It takes you out of your body and into your head. It just deposits you in the most miserable zone. And so going through that really did help me to see what I could do in terms of service with my sobriety and my output, as you said.
It's interesting that you've been into this, the yoga scene and all that since the late 90s, but just got sober 3 years ago. I mean, I've listened to a couple podcasts where you talk about, getting sober and stuff like that. And I got the feeling from that, it wasn't like you're smoking crack or like laying around with a needle in your arm, like you're smoking weed and just kind of.
Yes.
I mean, would you consider yourself someone that was addicted throughout that period of time? Or was it just like kind of a side habit that you're like, it's just not serving me?
I'm pretty sure I was addicted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was tough for me.
Yeah.
It was tough for me. It was tough
was
for me
it hard
to have.
To stop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when I finally did stop, it was just time, and it was goodbye.
Yeah, that's
Done.
how most of those things have been for me too.
Yeah, but when I wasn't ready to stop, it was so weirdly hard. Every single day of my life, there was some good reason why I should be stoned.
Yeah, I understand. I grew up in the 70s in Sonoma County in Northern California.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
I
mean, pot is just, it's just like, even then it was accepted as part of the culture. You know? And like
the most normal thing.
When I was a kid, everyone's parents smoked weed. So it was just everywhere. The minute the adults walked out of the room, we would just start pilfering their stash.
Yeah.
And it was just like impossible to not smoke pot.
All right.
And funnily enough, I think a lot of people don't think of like marijuana as an addictive drug.
No, they don't.
But for me, that was like the last stronghold. I had a lot of other like much more serious and life-threatening addictions, but I was unable to get sober for quite a few years because I didn't want to give up smoking pot. Like I was so psychologically addicted to it.
Same.
And I knew that in order to quit the harder stuff that like I actually didn't even like and didn't want to be doing, it was just so gnarly. But I drug it out because I knew that to be sober off that stuff, I would have to be all in because I just understood the fundamentals of like recovery. And so I put it off and put it off and put it off. And I always just had this dream if I could just smoke weed and like not drink and not do hard drugs. And I tried that again and again. And then it was always the gateway back to like the hard stuff. But I love smoking weed. That's why people are always surprised when I'm not like judgmental or uptight about marijuana. I'm like, God, if I could do it and not have like negative consequences, I would probably do it too.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be around it. I'm happy to help my friends and roll their joints and make them laugh when they're stoned. And
did you ever feel hypocritical for being someone that had an addiction going while you're teaching other people how to find liberation through yoga and meditation and all this?
Every day.
You did? So
yeah, dude.
You had guilt about it?
Every day. It was so sad. And I'm a great teacher. I did great work. I everything that I ever needed to learn or know, I presented so articulately and so meticulously. And I knew what I had to do. It was just a matter of when. Interesting.
So that brings me to a nice segue. So in terms of, you mentioned something else before kind of about the imposter syndrome and self-doubt and things like that. Do you think that when you got sober that because you didn't feel that underlying sense of shame and guilt that you really started to come into your own and embody more so what you've been teaching?
Yes. The work that I've done in the last 3 years is by far the best that I've done. I've had the most substantial opportunities, relevant work, relevant writing. I feel like I can really tap into what's needed right now and offer that.
Did you have to give much thought and consideration to publicly being open about the fact that there was like a date where your sobriety started and that you had issues, or was it a natural kind of thing for you?
I didn't do it. I didn't announce or mention a word of it until I had 40 days. I don't even think I announced or mentioned a word of it until I had like a few months, actually. But it was 40 days that I started. Actually, this was how I broke into like social media for myself in my own mind. Each one of those 40 days, I followed Gabby Bernstein's book called May Cause Miracles, and I made a piece of art, or I did some sort of some arrangement that I would then record on Instagram.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And so you can
So
look back.
rather than like hiding and being at all inhibited by the shame, you kind of just like used it as a platform by which to help other people then, in a sense.
But I didn't mention that I was sober for those 40 days. I just was making art and going through the various exercises that she was having us go through. I posted, I would say, probably once every day or every other day. And it was really helpful to me. It was a structure. It was a purpose. It was a mission.
Right. Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then what about on your path overcoming, or have you even had to look at, as you start to get some notoriety and, you know, dare I say, like fame within the spiritual and yoga community and stuff, have you ever been faced with your ego sort of co-opting that success and notoriety? And has there ever been a risk of kind of building a spiritual ego where you get the sense like you're special or you've arrived and, you know, all the accoutrement that comes with the robes and pillows and crystals and being somebody within the context of that scene?
No. I'm really proud to be my kid's mom. I think that's my best job. And
I noticed that actually in all of your bios and stuff on social, it's always like mom is like one of the first ones, if not the first.
it's the best job I've got.
Right.
Dude, it's harder if you're not a parent to keep your perspective. I'm so much into, you know, my kid and his well-being, and I'm not like the hovering mom by any means. He's already walking himself and, you know, taking care of himself. But since I've had that kid, I just don't, I am not the most important thing here.
Right.
All the work that I'm doing is really so that I can be better for him, so that I can be a better example for him.
So the having a kid and being a mom is like the great equalizer that kind of keeps you humble.
I feel.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it really is the ultimate gift of service, is it not? I mean, to bring another soul into an incarnation and sort of be their steward for a period of time and allow them to have this experience.
Steward is a nice word for it. In a way, it's more perilous to think about myself as like having all this agency over this person's life rather than anything in the whatever spiritual world. I don't really consider that. What I do look out for, though, is having too much invested in who he is and how he is and what he does. He's really not my kid. You know, he's really we read this all the time, but it really is true. He's a child of this world. I have to just prepare him to get out there the best way that I can.
What's been the most challenging part about being a mom?
My damn temper.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You get pissed off when he breaks stuff and
he doesn't
acts
break
like a kid?
stuff. He's not a clumsy kid.
What are some things that would trigger your temper in being a mom and having a kid? Like what would cause you to get impatient and pissed off?
Just the lack of listening. Yeah, he's got other things on his mind, which is completely understandable. And if I'm asking him, dude, brush your teeth. Dude, time to take a shower. Dude, time to do your homework, which he doesn't mind. Dude, time to help me in the kitchen making dinner, whatever. If he doesn't listen to me and he's like busy doing other things, for some reason, that is just like the trigger.
Well, he's a male too, and you understand we we have a difficult time multitasking.
I understand completely.
There's actually a study that I found at one point. I think it was in a book. I think it's called Why Men Don't Listen and Why Women Can't Read Maps. And it's kind of a funny book, but it's all based on scientific studies of the differences between the sexes. And it has one study that it notes in there that when men are engaged in something like watching sports, playing guitar, like whatever we're doing, that we physiologically actually go deaf.
Yes.
Because we're so single focused. It's not even like we literally can't hear. And so
it's not a choice.
you notice that because you have a male son?
I have noticed it.
So he's like reading or playing a video game or doing whatever. And you're like, hey, how about the da-da-da? And he's just like, tune you out.
It's very obvious that it's not personal. And then since I got sober, it took about a year for my liver to discharge all of that. Now I can glimpse the neutrality a lot more of the time. So I'm much better now.
Did you find when you got sober that a lot of repressed emotions started to come to the surface? Was there a purging of old, stuffed emotions and whatnot?
Like a good year.
You got off pretty easy.
I think I did get off easy.
I think I had about 15 years.
No,
maybe
but
still
it could just be that I was older.
Right.
I was 20.
That's true.
Wait, hold on. I was 40. I'll be 47 in a couple weeks. I was 44.
When's your birthday?
October the 13th.
Oh, wow. Mine's the 29th.
Hey.
Yeah, right on. So
October.
what are you, a Libra then?
I'm a Libra,
Yeah.
you're a Scorps.
Yeah. Cool. And then what about, all this stuff you have going on? I mean, you mentioned other businesses you have and passive income. You seem to be a really good businesswoman. How have you been able to reconcile, out there being proactive, making money, being a badass businesswoman with also your spiritual life? Like, how do those intersect for you in a way that feels good?
Put it this way, if they don't intersect, that's when there's a problem. I feel very strongly that my business and my spiritual life are one and the same. And when I am doing business, I'm taking care of my team. I have a huge global team with Doterra Essential Oils. It's been the most rewarding work I've ever done, plain and simple. And I've taught, big groups and done all kinds of neat work and writing, but taking care of one household at a time with the oils and making sure that the women that are on my team understand how to teach about them. Insanely satisfying. So I feel very strongly that is a spiritual enterprise, actually. For me to empower another woman to take care of her child and, to have a child of my own who at nighttime he's also having a little respiratory thing right now, and he'll be like, Mom, can you get the breathe stick and put the On Guard on my feet, please? Like, that's what he asks for at night before he goes to bed.
I smelled the diffuser when I walked through his room. Yeah. Yeah. I love Doterra Oils. I think I'm like in their system at some point. I was like, oh, maybe I'll include that in my website or something like that. And I just kind of dropped the ball in it. But I actually love those oils. Dude. But it's one of those things, like, and I want to actually, I'll get to essential oils because that's something that I wanted to talk about because I've never mentioned it on my show in 100-something episodes. So you've been able to not only reconcile like your financial success with spiritual success, and that they're all one and the same, and kind of the same container holds those. Because I think
if they're not, it's an issue.
Right.
If they're not together in the same container, that's when there's a problem.
In what sense?
Because if you're just going after money over here and then you're praying over here and the two do not coincide, it feels crazy inside of yourself. It's like watching your parents fight.
Right.
There's a conflict inside of you.
Right.
And it hurts.
Yeah, I guess that's the plight of people that are really unsatisfied with their jobs, and they hate their job, and they go to yoga and meditation class after work to get over how much misery that is being caused by their job.
100% true.
Yeah. I guess I asked that because it's been a little bit difficult to reconcile infusing my professional life with my own spirituality, because I had to overcome a lot of preconceived ideas that like things of the spirit should be free and it's all about service. And so many of my teachers have just been guys that have just helped me out. It's just, they never asked for anything. It's just sort of within the context of my recovery. I've had a lot of great mentors and support there. And I would think like, God, if I was paying this guy like I would a shrink, I would owe this guy $100,000. I mean, just people that literally just saved my life and changed my life. And so I had this preconceived idea that developed that if you were to like charge for life coaching or health coaching or to be a meditation teacher or whatever, that was somehow disingenuous because you're like milking spiritual seekers for money. I mean, it's a really fucked up idea. I mean, I'm working to get over it. And I think part of it's born from observing over the years that I've studied different gurus and spiritual leaders and stuff, that some of them have been maybe not so authentic about the intention of their teaching. And many of them like have done it just to get rich, or gurus in India that I've seen that are just like milking you for your money, which happened to me, I'm pretty sure, on one trip to India, and, like promising the gift of enlightenment to Westerners and charging you $5,000 and all this. So I've had to really work hard to kind of, but at the end of the day, it's all part of the process,
Right.
But I think there are a few sort of fake gurus out there in this realm that are about making money and achieving fame and things like that. So to separate the wheat from the chaff, in a sense, has been a little bit of a process for me, so that I feel good about taking my 20 years of experience and hard ass work. I mean, like spiritual path is not unicorns and rainbows. This shit is hardcore.
Yeah.
But to take those blood, sweat, and tears and then pass that on to someone and not have any guilt, shame, or remorse about saying it's going to cost you money.
Here's the deal. Every one of us has to make a living. And there are certain things that you're going to do, that you're going to offer as part of your services, that for which people are actually behooved to pay. Because when there's an exchange of money, which is really just energy, they will take in more of what you're offering, more of the gold and the pith of what you're offering than they would if they hadn't paid for it. On the other hand, you'll have people with whom you connect deeply on a soul level, inexplicably. Those people you're allowed to mentor. You're allowed to take them under your wing. I teach online courses and I take people under my wing, and they're all the time. It's really no cost to me. It really helps them. And it really connects us in a way that helps me feel good about also earning a living from that course or that work. So I see both sides, and I do not, if you can rewrite your relationship to money and talk about how much money loves you and how you're just an open conduit for it. It comes in, it goes out, it helps other people when it comes to you, it goes out and it serves communities and villages. That's when you have a good relationship to money, and by that time, you won't even come into contact with shysters anymore because your energy around it is so clear.
Yeah, that's been my experience for sure.
Yeah.
Also in terms of your career and just being this like really proactive, prolific teacher in everything that you do, and also being a woman, and you mentioned before you're in a relationship with a man. Did I get that right?
Yes.
How have you been able to balance the masculine and feminine energy within yourself, in that in order to be as productive as you are, even though to me, like this is just my assessment, and please, if I'm off base here, correct me. But your work is very much like in the fluid, feminine, creative, just unconditional love, like super earth mama vibes. But then when you look at like the business structure that you've created, I mean, that's definitely a yang, like let's get shit done. I'm building a website, 3 of them were online programs, the books, the this, that. I mean, that kind of, in my estimation, that kind of productivity doesn't happen from just oming and like being a chill, feminine energy person. So how do you find the balance in your professional life where you are out there in the yang world getting shit done, and then still, how are you able to find polarity and chemistry and keep that alive within your relationship so you don't end up with 2 people that are the same?
I always wear a dress. Literally every day I wear a dress.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that advice. Ladies listening, from a man's perspective, that's a really good tool.
It's so nice. It feels so good. I cook my own food. Some of the best advice I ever got was just make sure you cook your own food. I wake up very early and I do my practices. And my practices are all based in the Sri Vidya lineage. So it's all calling in the feminine all morning long. And then I listen to mantras, and I keep the energy in my house very fluid and feminine. This way, when I'm working, and I've cultivated a mind that likes to organize and arrange things and stay on top of things. And I don't have a team. I don't have anyone answering my email. I have one person who helps me with 1 retreat a year. I have my digital collaborator, and she and I work on all the websites together and the courses and so forth. And that's it. And we get a lot done during the course of the day because we're just organized and factual, and we do one thing at a time. That's it. My Doterra team has brought me to a new understanding of what it means to have an organization, run a business of my own, be a great leader. It's definitely more yang energy. But when I'm leading, I try and keep them in the awareness of the feminine, in the awareness of the fluidity of this, the ways in which we share what we are coming to understand about the oils. When it comes to James, my boyfriend, it's absolutely an effort to make sure that we connect. We have an involatile date night, always on Mondays. Nobody changes it. Nothing gets taken from it. It's always Mondays. We make sure that we connect in several different ways, several times a week. eye to eye, body to body, whatever it is, so that we know we have that time coming. We look forward to it greatly. And he knows who I am. He knows what I'm here to do. He knows I'm here to leave a legacy of empowered, wealthy women worldwide. I'm here to do that. And yes, I'm not close to having men in this conversation, but that's what I'm here to do because I see the need.
That's funny. You just read my mind. Not that you're close, but I was just curious, like, do you have the lone straggler guy here and there?
I do. I have a bunch. Yeah. I have a bunch. They're awesome. It's not that I'm close to men, but it's that the more I look, the more I see women who are not really yet believing in their own capacity to earn as they serve. And I think it's important to make sure that that's known.
What's your view on the current state of feminism in the broadest sense, like traditional kind of mainstream, not on the woo-woo yogic
No,
side?
I'm actually happy to see Lena Dunham's work. The Lenny blog is incredibly articulate, intelligent, worth every second of reading. I know dear friend Carrie Kelly, who founded Citizen Well, ctznwell.org. Incredible activist who's making sure that everybody understands what's at stake with regards to healthcare, civil liberties, civil rights, what we can do to have an impact, serve, and yet be peaceful around it. That's making me very happy, very excited to be a woman. And there are some other, factions and fractals that I see that are disappointing and disheartening, but what I see most of all is that people are really paying attention, and the women in my life are taking it into their own hands and being of service in the best ways that they can.
What about the essential oils piece?
Yes.
Because as I said, this is a pretty big part of I cover a lot of health and wellness experts, probably I'd say half people that are more in the consciousness realm and half that are like seriously into health regimens and stuff like this, from the most scientific, nerdy biohacker dudes to, vegan green juice girls, you know what I'm saying? The paleo people, the vegan people, they're all invited to the party. I want to benefit from all of them. But oddly, one thing that I have not covered is essential oils. And I got turned on to them through a friend that was a doTERRA rep. And I honestly thought that I've been into all this stuff forever, but there's a couple things that I always thought were kind of bogus. One was like crystals. The other one was essential oils, and then astrology, and maybe tarot. Maybe 4 are those things that are like, should be kind of within my lexicon and, my world, because they're just intertwined with so much of the stuff that I'm into. But it's not like I've had a negative connotation toward any of those things, but definitely haven't had a draw toward them. But my friend came to my house, my friend Chance, and did like a doTERRA kind of classic demo. And I'm on the oils every day since. That was probably 5 years ago. It was just like it clicked, and I don't exactly know what they do or how they work because I never delved into it further. But in my room right now where I'm staying in New York, I have probably 5 or 6 different blends of oils and stuff, and I'm eating them and smelling them and all of this. So obviously you think essential oils are legit because it's a big part of your business. How did you first find them? And then let's explore that a little bit.
One of my employees at my former yoga studio came 20 years ago, probably 18, something like this, 17, 18 years ago, and said she was just getting into essential oils. Would I like to try this? And I smelled one and I was done, hooked.
That was it?
That was it.
Yeah.
It was all over. Ever since then, I use oils every day. And a friend of mine came to me 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something like this, and said, I'm getting involved with this company. They were just founded a few years ago. Have a smell. And I signed on instantly, but I didn't actually do the business for 3 years because I didn't believe it. And I was really averse to direct sales / network marketing / multi-level marketing. It really gave me the willies for all the reasons that anyone listening is having the willies right now.
Right.
And I came to understand pretty quickly that there's a reason why it's called network marketing. It's called network marketing because we are effectively creating a network of educators to teach people about the oils. And what the oils are simply the extractions of the little sacs in the leaves and the petals of the plants. each of these plants is put on this earth by Mother Nature and God and whomever you wish to call who's in charge. Physics, whatever you want to say. And each one of them serves a purpose within the ecology in which they are found, in which they're thriving. So that purpose, which is being served by the plant in its habitat, is also being served within our own bodies. This one protects against this. This one protects against that. This one is, has a really sharp little pieces on its bark, and that turns out to be one of the most protective compounds we've got on planet Earth, cinnamon. It's a wonder every single day because I'm constantly learning about the science of the oils. Just recently coming to understand about the length of the carbon chains and the molecules of the essential oils and how the ones that stick with you longer have more. Vetiver.
I love vetiver.
I knew you would.
That's amazing.
Sandalwood.
Those are two of my favorites.
Whereas the citruses are totally different molecular makeup, and so they don't last as long. They're more volatile, meaning they dissipate more. Anyway, just learning all these various aspects of how the oils work, how they're made. I came to Doterra because of the integrity of their sourcing and because of the charitable component that they are espousing for all this time. They have a foundation called the Healing Hands Foundation. They donate millions every year to Days for Girls, helping educate girls in third world countries about feminine hygiene and all matters pertaining to such. And Operation Rescue, where they go in Black Ops style and they pull out children and women who are enslaved.
Wow.
Sex slavery.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, they're very serious. It's an incredible company. I just came back from the convention. It was my first one. And I came in hot as a blue diamond, which is a high rank. And I spent the last year helping them design 3 blends specifically for yoga and meditation practice.
Oh, nice.
It's called the Yoga Collection. And Anchor, Align, and Arise are the names of the 3 blends. They are stunning. That's what's diffusing right now in this room. Jonah's got all the respiratory stuff in his room, diffusing eucalyptus and basil and breathe. But here I've got Align and Arise together in the diffuser. I can't say what an honor it was to work with this company. They were just so organized from every angle. When I got there to speak and present, I didn't realize the scope of the convention. I presented in front of 15,000 people.
What the hell?
Twice.
Where was it?
Salt Lake.
Wow.
And stunning.
Is that where they're based? Or
yes.
Okay.
Every single detail of this operation was meticulously arranged. Everything was perfect. And I went in there feeling welcomed and needed and wanted and relevant for the executive team, the founders, all the way down to the audience. And it was such an honor to deliver the work that I've done to them and to explain to them the confluence of yoga and essential oils, explain to them how I took them through a practice, like a 15-minute little stretch, which was beautiful in their chairs, which I love to do for big groups. And I walked around after that. So many dozens of people came up to me and they would stop me in the hall and they'd be like, Elena, I'm going to yoga now because of that. We had arms out, arms up, some breathing in their chair. It was very, very cursory and rudimentary. And so many people are starting yoga because of that. I say, if there's any question as to the relevance of essential oils when it comes to yoga meditation, just have one swipe of lavender or basil or the breathe blend that you probably have, balance any of the oils just aromatically before you do breath work or before you do your asana practice. Rub it on the soles of your feet even. Immediately there's a difference. You're brought to an awareness of Mother Nature at her finest, of the most pure potency of the plants coming into your body, your sphere, as a pure expression. That, to me, enhances my practice every single day. And I use them every single day.
That's funny, the correlation with yoga, because at some point I ended up I got my little Kundalini yoga kit, with all my various pillows and sheepskins and stuff in there. And somehow like some of my oils just ended up in there.
Yeah.
And so I've just intuitively found myself just putting them in my palms and kind of huffing them at key moments during the class. And then finally, like someone gave me one of the, like a roll on, I think now actually it's from Living Libations. Nadine has this deodorant called Poetic Pits. And when I ran out of that, I was like, oh, sick. I could just put my own little oil blend in there. So I did that. And now like, if you sit next to me, you're basically going to get doused. You know, anyone in my like 4-person circumference there is going to get a dose of oils during yoga. And that's the thing. I don't know what it does, but it feels really good. And then as I've been going to this class with my teacher, Tage, for like 6 years now, anyone sitting by me is always like, dude, where's the oils? You know, so it's like, it's kind of spreading. But there's also a study.
Have you studied with Guru Singh yet?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm interviewing him on Halloween.
Good.
Actually, yeah. I love Guru Singh as well. Those are kind of, Guru Jagat, Guru Singh, and Tage are kind of the 3 that I rotate. But I mostly go to Tage. She's my girl. I interviewed her too. Hey, check this out. I recently launched something on my site called the Master Market. It's a super cool store where I've got different categories, whether it be spirituality, mind focus, outdoors, food, superfoods, supplements, bedroom, sleep, office, jet lag, biohacking. There's even a bookstore from some of my favorite books and books recommended by my guests. And what this is like a hub where you can go find all of the links to everything I've either used and vetted or am currently using in my life to build the ultimate lifestyle. So it's called the Master Market, Luke's Lifestyle List, and you can find it at lukestorey.com/store. Just go to my site and you'll see it in the navigation. Now, what's really cool about this is when you make a purchase through my store, I'm not actually selling you anything. I'm just curating a really dope place where you can go find the best stuff. So I get a piece of commission if you make a sale through the site. The vendor, of course, makes some cash because you buy, and you get a place where you can go and save time and money from not having to look around for the best stuff and do all the research yourself. But what's even cooler is most of those items come with a custom discount code if you go through my site, which is pretty cool. So it's a win-win-win, triple, trifecta win. Great way to support my work and the podcast and the show, as well as the brands and your own health and well-being. Check it out, lukestorey.com/store. So one of my biohacking, like super geek biohacker buddies that's not into spirituality at all, sent me some studies on some of the oils that are like the evergreen, like pine type trees.
Conifers.
Yeah, conifers, that's the word.
Yeah.
And these studies about how when you smell those, your brain has this olfactory reaction that you actually, it relaxes your nervous system because you think you're in the woods.
Yes.
And trippy stuff like that.
Yes.
So what I started doing was in my clear light infrared sauna, I'll run a diffuser of specifically those type of oils a lot of the time and get in there, and it's just like, I'm like in a sweaty jungle woods, environment. It's super dope.
Yes.
So I'm a convert, but I still don't really understand, any of the science. I just know.
Just think about your lungs.
Yeah.
Picture all the little pathways in your lungs. And then picture a really old tree. It's the same thing. Right?
Interesting.
The same thing. Your bones are the minerals, the rocks. Your blood is the water. Your lungs are the trees.
You're sounding like Abby Galvin right now.
She is my teacher, but
she presents ideas in the same way. How there's these twin pairs in nature all the time. I never even thought about stuff like that. That's a trip.
It's all a big polarity at the end of the day.
That's a trip.
But that's exactly right. And when you take in, especially the oils that are evergreen. So think about the qualities of an evergreen tree. It doesn't die. It doesn't really turn brown. It stays alive, thriving, hardy, despite the weather, the cold, the wind, the rain, everything. Wouldn't you like to be like that?
Right.
Isn't that the aim of any of our lives, is to be consistent across experiences? Not to not feel our feelings, but to hold this shunya, this neutral mind, so that we can be responsive rather than a ball of reactivity.
Do you think there's any oils that could help someone? What are the oils that could help someone really calm down in an acute moment of anxiety when you're just like freaking out? There's no time to do breathing exercises or some of the more physical work. What's an oil or two that someone could like start to breathe in to bring their nervous system back into check?
Two that come to mind. The first one is bergamot. And I'm taught to take a little finger of 1 drop of bergamot on my 2 index fingers and place them on what's called the ear shen men point in TCM, SHENMEN. The moment you do that, just hold and lightly for 10, 15, up to 60 seconds, 90 seconds even, until you feel the state change. And then, as you're passing the oil past your face, you can also smell it. Bergamot's amazing for focus and, really bringing yourself back from wherever you've just gone out there. Great for kids, great for school, great for us. The other thing that came to mind weirdly is blue tansy, which is really a skin anti-irritation oil. It has what's called saponine, I think is the compound in it, or maybe it's beta-carophylline, I forget. It's effecting an anti-inflammatory response in your body on a physiological level, which I feel, because I use it a lot for skin irritation that I have, I feel that it actually does that also in my brain. Every time I use it, I smell it and I feel this grounding back down into the earth.
What about the oils that can be taken internally? When I first found the Doterra oils, they have little capsules and things like that, and these little like beadlets. And then I figured out that you could also just empty out like another capsule, or just buy empty capsules and kind of make your own pills. Essentially, I never knew you could even eat certain oils. So what are some of the ones that you think are the most beneficial in terms of, getting rid of imbalances in bacteria or any of the different things? Like when I'm starting to get sick, I'll make myself a bunch of like oregano capsules and take like a lot. And sometimes I'm able to catch it. So that's one I know. What are some of the ones you think that are really great in terms of ingestion?
I am very cautious about saying that anything is the right thing for anyone.
Right.
Especially in a forum where I'm talking to many people.
Right.
I can only speak from my own experience and say that I've always been cautious about internal use of essential oils. And I've had one experience where I had the flu, terrible, crazy onset of the flu after a flight. And I hadn't been sick in many years. And I made myself a capsule. It's called the flu balm. Frankincense, lemon, on guard, thyme, oregano, and melaleuca. Teacher.
Damn, that's hard. That's like
2 drops of each.
It's like a neutron bomb right there.
And I had to get well. I had 2 days to get well. I was starting to film the 3rd day. And from day 1, where I was just starting to feel it, and day 2, when it was like bed, floor, couch, bath, bed, floor, couch, bath. I was so sick. I took 3 of the flu bombs that day with light food and some broth. By the next day, I was better. It was no joke. I didn't have any inflammation or issues with my gut at all. There was no pain, nothing like that. I had a great experience. I talk about that. I do not prescribe that for just anyone. Right. Of course, I have in glasses only, not in plastic. I'll use a drop of lemon. I'll use a drop of grapefruit. I don't do 20 drops. I'm very conservative with this because the jury is out. According to all the science that I learned from doTERRA and Dr. David K. Hill, who is just incredible, letter K, last name Hill, very worth following. Internal ingestion is actually fine and scientifically proven to be fine. Things like copaiba and frankincense, a couple drops in a veggie cap, actually engage the body's anti-inflammatory response, according to Dr. Hill. Have I tried it? No, I haven't. I'm humming along like a nicely well-oiled machine right now, no pun intended, and I don't feel the need for that. My bloods are fine. Everything is going cool, so I don't use it, but I like to share the science that I'm learning, and then people get to do what they wish with the information.
You just reminded me of another one I love, frankincense.
The best.
I eat that stuff all the time. I just put it under my tongue.
Yep.
I reminded me I'm out of it actually right now. I'm like, oh shit.
I'll give you some.
Oh, awesome. That's great. Yeah. I don't know. And I don't even think that's one that I knew you could eat. I just was like, God, I like the smell of this so much. I wonder what would happen. And
it is fine.
While you're more on the cautious, end of the spectrum,
yes.
I'm like do everything 10x what you're supposed to, and then scale it back to the safe level, which I do not recommend for the listeners. But yeah, frankincense, I'll do like 3 or 4 drops under my tongue and just kind of swish it around. I actually like the taste of it. It's like food for me.
Yes.
So that's cool. And I think what it is with the oils, I was trying to pinpoint what it was that maybe made me a little bit skeptical, is earlier on before the Doterra, my dad got really into Young Living oils, another brand, which I think are pretty good as well. But they have they don't really talk about the medical or health benefits so much. It's more like, theirs will be named like enlightenment and humility, and like they're sort of named after states of being or spiritual principles. And then, the little sort of excerpt for each one is like, will cause you to see God. And then like the claims were like really so profound that I think I was like, really? Like, you smell an oil and you're going to have this profound spiritual experience? That seems unlikely somehow. I just remember it was kind of like the woo-woo side of the oils. But, based on the science, like we're saying, how they're proven to change your brain state, some of those claims may not have been that far-fetched. Who knows,
When you smell an oil, it goes directly to your limbic brain. It has an immediate emotional impact, period. They're not wrong. But the reason why I gravitated towards Doterra is because of first of all, the science, second of all, the service, and third of all, the level of community that has been built around it, the education that I've received and that I now offer to my team. And, I really appreciate the forthright way in which the founders in the highest level are very present and engaged with what we are all doing here.
And how did you reconcile the part of the network marketing part that at first you were sort of like bristling against? What finally kind of turned your head around in terms of that? Because I know a lot of people struggle with that. And I, back in, I don't know, maybe late 90s, early 2000, when I didn't really know what I was quote unquote doing with my life and was struggling with different professions and things, I got signed up with different companies that make protein powders and this and that. And I was like, I'm going to get rich. I just have to tell people. And I was doing little demos for different companies, and none of them ever really panned out in terms of a career path for me. So I would say I've been more on the cautious side too, as you were. At what point were you like, oh, this actually makes sense. This is totally cool and not weird?
When I realized that I was using oils for already 15 years and that I could make a career out of teaching people about that, all the ways in which it has totally enhanced my life to be having essential oils nearby. There is not an over-the-counter drug in this household. No Benadryl, no Advil, no Tylenol, nothing. We don't need it. We have everything we need. When I realized that that's what I could be doing and actually earning a living, when I saw what was possible in terms of the friends that I have already in the business, what they were earning, and when I looked at my own bank account and I saw the absolute dire lack of funds.
Right.
At 42 years old, and I was like, what exactly does a girl need to do to actually earn a real living? And I looked into it and I realized that the only way that a woman can work from home and be a millionaire is via network marketing. Combine that with the fact that I'm already using the oils. I'm already teaching people about the oils anyway, and that it's a mission for me to make this into a way in which to empower other women. I was go from that point.
Cool. Yeah, I think, and obviously it's working for you because you've continued to do it. I think that's something that people that have skepticism about that business model are like, oh, only people at the very top make money. You got to buy in, and then you end up spending all this money, but you never make any and things like that. So you're living proof that that's not necessarily true if you are passionate and believe in what you're doing and the product that you're involved with.
What I'll say about that is that let's say you open up a shop, right? You're not going to open up a shop with 4 items in it and kind of skimp around and not really put your all into the way the shop is and feels. It's the very same with a network marketing business. It doesn't matter, Doterra, any other company, any other item. You take the first 6 months to a year and you invest in your education, you invest in the products, you invest in your understanding of how the products work in your own house. Then you start to make money. It's the same. in any other business, in any other context. The people who are really smart about it and immediately know that, let's say the folks who've been using essential oils for a really long time, and they just immediately start teaching about it, they can earn much more quickly. It's not a huge expenditure. It's 100 points a month if you are signing people on and if you want to earn commissions. And by the way, I promise you, you're already spending much more than that on the checkout line at the Whole Foods.
Right.
And you're paying full price retail for all the things that you're picking up at last second that you actually don't really, really need. Whereas if you have an account, you actually are saving 25%. You're getting exactly what you need. Change your order every month, doesn't matter. And you're able to learn about the things that you're going to teach to your friends and family who need it the most. Think about all the people in your family who are having a medicine chest full of all those toxic chemicals, popping the pills in their mouth. They don't even know what they're putting in their bodies, and yet they'll be careful to get organic broccoli.
You know what's funny about that? I'm staying in an Airbnb. The first half of my trip, I was in a hotel, and now I'm in an Airbnb. And I got in there to like go in the bathroom and like open the medicine cabinet. And it's just all that stuff, it's literally all poison. And it's crazy to me because I live in this bubble where everyone I know is like, oh yeah, I don't go to CVS. Like I don't need any of that shit. Kind of like you. But I'm like, oh my God, there's so many people that don't even know there's other solutions. And it's just trippy to me. So it's one of the great things about having this platform is being able to share information. Someone listening to this right now is like, oh, you mean you don't actually have to spend money in stores like that? You don't have to go to Dwayne Reed and drop $150 on all these things with all these side effects. Because that reminds me, I've used my oils to make my own stuff. Like now I make my own, deodorant and also just will have some other like skin oils or lotions. And then I put my own essential oils. I make my own little custom blends. I have stuff that I like use for my little sleep situation.
You got a
my
woman?
little pillow sprays.
Are you in a relationship
No,
at all?
not currently.
Dude, I'm sure I know your lady.
No, I don't have one.
You're like I'm saying.
Oh, you know one?
You're the ideal dude.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
No, for real.
I'm working on myself,
It's beautiful.
Actually, the relationship piece that's funny is I guess that is never a lesson that is like finished being learned, but that's at this point in my life, the thing I'm really taking a look at because I think I need some growth in that area. So I'm actually in 3 months into a 6-month break right now where I'm just kind of reevaluating some patterns that I'm not really happy with. But I think I'm a pretty good catch. I'm getting there,
You're a great catch. You'll be fine.
So thank you for that. I appreciate it. I will take that in. So I agree. The oils have been something that I've just sort of like, I wonder if I can use them for this and use them for that. And I've sort of invented my own little quasi products and stuff. So I'm glad we got to cover that.
Yeah.
And I think with the network marketing thing too, is I think a lot of people get turned off by it because there probably are a lot of unscrupulous companies that aren't cool. And also, like you said, a lot of people just think it's the lottery. And they're just like, cool, I'm going to sign up this thing and like build a team under me and I'm going to be rich in a month. It's like anything, like you said, you got to work your ass off. Man, I know I own a business. It didn't just happen. It's like my friends are like, oh, that's so cool. You got this thing. I'm like, yeah, but you didn't see the first 5 years of it where I was like working 14 hours a day. And now I can step back a little bit, but still it's like, it didn't just magically appear. I didn't get like lucky to work your ass off. So speaking of working your ass off, as we start to move toward the end here, I want to talk about some of the different things that you're doing. Obviously, you've got the oils and stuff like that. And then I really like the looks of your Practice You journal book. So what's that all about? I haven't seen the physical copy in my hands yet.
Oh, we got to get it.
But I like the...
Lisa.
But I like
You got to get that book over there. It's right underneath the brown envelope. See where the tissue paper is?
Oh, yeah, I see it.
That's going to be your copy, brother.
Oh, nice.
I'll sign that thing for you.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think I just was attracted to the creative direction, all the watercolor and everything. And just, I don't know, it's just like a gorgeous looking book. And now holding it in my hands, it is. So what's the process here with this journal book?
March of 2016, a month and a half after my mom died. She has been around so much today. I got a call from my publisher and he said, there's a hole in our offerings and there should be a journal of some kind. And we're wondering if you would be interested in doing something like that. I was like, sure, I guess so. I know exactly who will illustrate it. And I thought of this great illustrator, and I was going to call her, and I even emailed her, and she was an almost yes, but she was really booked up. And then the publisher called me back, and he was like, no. You do the art, or there's no deal.
You did the art in here?
All the art is
No
mine.
way. This is so dope.
And so right there, where the yoga mat is, all summer, last summer, I painted every single day.
Oh my God, that's so sick.
Yeah.
Wow, you're really talented.
And then I listened to my mom, and I read in my books, and I went through all the notebooks that I've had for so many years, and I found all the ways in which I would organize the images, and I found the ways in which I would write about what, we could be prompted to work with in our own lives through the book. And it turned out beautifully, and now it's the kind of thing where it's contagious. There are schools and administrators looking to incorporate the book into their curriculum. Everybody, college professors, yoga teacher trainings, all the way to, I had a good week and a half with my son's 5th grade class where they were getting homework in that book every night. I just brought a whole case in. I was like, let's just see what happens here.
Oh, that's
Magnificent.
awesome.
They were the kids were so eager to talk about themselves through this book. And the title came because as he called me, and as happens a lot now that my mom is gone, whenever I need her, something happens where I know that she had a hand in this. He called and he said this, and it was like the 3rd or 4th call, and I looked over at the vision board that I had made for that year, 2016, and I had pasted the word practice, and just beneath it, I had pasted the word you. And I looked and I was like, practice you. PracticeYou.com. This website is available.
No way.
I was like, who the hell?
That's crazy. I can't believe you got that URL.
You don't even understand. It was so
I've looked for a
obscene.
lot of URLs, and they're always taking the good ones that I want.
It was so obscene.
Wow.
I got it right away.
And you
I
got
asked if that was okay.
Even?
.com.
Damn. Because you don't want to, I never want to mess with the other dots, I'm like, I want a .com.
I'm fine with the teach.yoga, though. It's a very awesome website.
Oh, okay.
That's the site where all the teachers write and post. And
right.
it's going super well. Yeah. Non-profit. It's just a passion project for me and my partner. But this was some kind of miracle. And then my boyfriend, my partner, James, who's also a creative director, he was in charge of kind of, evening out all the imagery, making sure all the colors were blending and fluid. And so it was our first project together of many.
How did that go?
Super well.
I guess if it was of many, then it worked out.
No, super well. It's such a pleasure to work with him.
Sometimes when a couple try to work together, there's a bit of a, like going back to that polarity thing, I've had that experience where you have like two bosses, like kind of going head to head. It's difficult sometimes to make that fluid.
It's easy because he's the boss in that realm. I'm the boss in other realms, but he is by far the boss in the realm of art and creative direction.
Right.
He took everything I did and made it better.
Cool.
Straight up.
That's awesome. Well,
he
congratulations.
Made yeah.
And thank you for the book.
You're most welcome.
That's rad. I'm so lucky. Like I get so many amazing books now.
That's good.
Yeah, if they'll either mail it to me or if it's in person, they always give me the book. So it's pretty cool. It's one of the little bonuses.
That's great.
And then what's up with Yoga Glow? Because I was looking at your schedule, hoping to catch one of your classes, and I see you have a lot going on with that organization. Tell us about what that means.
I've been with them since the very beginning. And I also reluctantly went, just like with Doterra. I said yes, reluctantly. But I now have seen the results. I'm able to have an impact on the folks who cannot get to yoga, who don't have studios in their area. And I'm able to reach folks far and wide with my practices. I spend all year keeping notes and notebooks to make sure that the classes that I teach there when I go 2 or 3 times a year to film are my heart. They're from my experience. They're steeped in my own practice, my own understanding of what is, happening in my own body. And working with them is a great pleasure. They are just family to me now. I go there, as I said, 2 or 3 times a year, and we film, depending on if it's a program or if it's just plain classes, several classes over a few days. And then they get released every 2 weeks or so.
That's cool. I
One
love
at a
that
time.
idea because as I've lived in Hollywood for like 25 years. I mean, no, wait, sorry, 29 years, like right in the heart of it, And I'm getting to that point. I'm 46. I'm like, I don't know if I need to live like right in the middle of the city. My career sort of shifted where it's not required that I'm close to the studio. I used to be a fashion stylist. Oh, I forgot to ask you, you had a background in textiles and.
Oh, dude, we could have gone off on that for days.
Anyway, that belonged in the beginning and I skipped covering it.
You were a stylist.
For 17 years. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. And I own a fashion school. That's one of the reasons I'm here in New York.
I understand now.
Called School of Style. We teach people how to be stylists. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're at Pier 59 Studios just grinding.
I need to interview you for a second, may I?
Sure.
What has come of the actual styling business because of Instagram?
It's trippy. Yeah, it's different.
I have dear friends who are celebrity stylists for years and years, very well known. And their businesses have significantly changed and shifted because of Instagram. Everybody's a stylist.
Yeah, well, that's also partly due to my business school of style because we're training. We've trained over 3,000 people for the past 9 years. So many of the younger stylists actually gain recognition and credibility from their Instagram accounts. Like when social media first started to emerge, I mean, we would teach our students to use it to showcase their work, but what's happened is this sort of new shift or new paradigm where aspiring stylists are showing themselves kind of more as a blogger where they style themselves and then they build a following and then that parlays into a styling career, whereas the more traditional model was like you intern for a big stylist, then you work your way up to a paid assistant, you do that for 5 or 6 years, and then eventually you start getting clients largely due to jobs that your key stylist drops on you, like hand-me-down jobs, and then eventually you emerge as a key stylist, and then you build a team under you. That was like the traditional model. That's how I came up, minus the intern part. I just went straight to assistant because I had a friend.
Right.
But now you have people that like have never done a job in their life. They've never interned. They've never assisted. They have a big Instagram following. They catch the attention of a celebrity, and all of a sudden they're a celebrity stylist, But I think a lot of them, based on my experience, are doing themselves a little bit of a disservice because there's a lot to learn from the greats that have gone before you. Our students that have worked with Lori Goldstein and just these epic editors and stylists.
Lori's one of my best friends.
Oh, cool. Yeah, she's been great to the school.
I mean, she was right here just then when you said her name. It was like
really?
Yes, literally has influenced everything that I am.
Wow,
if you look around
trippy.
This house, everything.
Yeah, well, you know what? You do have a very eclectic style, and you could say that she's probably the queen of eclectic styling when it comes to fashion.
But if you look around her house, she is absolutely the influence on me.
Wow, that's interesting.
Primary.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
I love her.
So I say
she's
that
like one of the first people who get 2 copies of the book.
She's one of the most gracious people
ever
at that level in fashion that I've ever met. And I've met some great people, a lot of the big stylists and stuff like that. But I mean, someone at that level she was really helpful to the school and came and spoke at one of our classes and was just like very humble and just relatable and cool. And I mean, that's someone when I was a stylist, that was like, she was like the Beatles of styling.
She is the Beatles. And the reason why is because she has a spiritual practice.
Oh, okay.
She's one of Gurmai's students.
Really?
Forever.
Interesting.
That's
didn't
where
know
we
that.
met.
That's so funny because I don't talk about that stuff when I interview stylists on video or they come to our classes.
I dare you to start. I dare you to start asking them about their spiritual practice.
Well, we're in the context of a fashion class.
Who cares?
It's never seemed relevant.
You know what? Bring it in.
I guess if
bring it into the school.
You know what? I guess if our students are going to survive, they're going to have to find something.
Babe, bring it in.
So yeah, the industry has changed, but that brings me back to the point of the accessible yoga classes online. When I've thought about, even moving to Topanga or Ojai or somewhere outside of LA, an hour or more, even the upper reaches of Malibu, it's like, well, dude, I got to be by yoga. Like, what am I going to do? I can't move to a small town.
Yes,
but then when I interviewed Guru Jagat, she has this whole Rama TV thing where you can they live stream her class. I was like, wow. Actually, I could live somewhere that's a little less accessible and with something like Yoga Glow, like have a practice that I do from home. Because honestly, I will do very little yoga by myself. My buddy Elliot, he took teacher training with Tej and Hari G1, and he just does sets in his apartment all the time, like a good hour and a half set. He knows the set. He has the teacher training manuals. I'm like, good for you. I literally won't do it. I'll do it with him if he leads it, but it's just like
Get on Yoga Glow and practice with Kia Miller.
All right, I will, because I need to be able to do it when I travel. Like in New York, I went to one sound experience at Womb, but I have not even done yoga here because it's just I won't do it in my room. I need to go to a class.
And you also need to go and see Hari at the Treehouse.
Oh, I've been to her classes.
The best.
Yeah.
She's actually coming to it's a surprise for everybody, but she's coming to the book launch.
Oh, that's awesome.
She's
I hope I can catch
off.
one of her classes while I'm here still. Yeah, now I'm staying a little bit closer to her too.
She's amazing.
Do you know Mark Chen? He has this acupuncturist, Chinese medicine guy.
They work together very closely.
He's in the same building, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm interviewing him tomorrow.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
He's
I'm excited.
a genius.
I'm excited. Another topic that I haven't really been able to cover.
He's a genius. You're going to get a lot of insight from him.
Cool. That's
I've learned a lot with him.
You guys in New York have this whole thing going on out here that I never knew existed. There's such a strong community in this realm here.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Really,
we've been building this thing for 20 years, dude.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess because the first few years that I came here, I was always doing fashion stuff, and I was just grinding and, styling a job or doing my school. And I don't know, there's no time to pursue a yoga class. I'd go to a Jiva Mukti, I'd stay close to Union Square and a little bit here and there, but I just had no idea there was this massive, awakened community here. So it's really cool.
It's been coming for that amount of time. And I remember being in LA when I was doing my trainings, and I was thinking always that LA was so far advanced than New York. And now we're slowly
That was my
catching
assessment when I started coming here 9-10 years ago. And I was like, can I just get an organic meal even? It's my expectations weren't even that high, but it was a different time. I don't know, man. It's exploded here. It's just a beautiful place. I'm hoping to spend some more time here now.
Yeah, you should.
So speaking of time, that brings us to a close. And it's been really, really fun. I do have one final question for you. And you've mentioned a few teachers already, but you've taught our audience a lot of great information today. Who have been 3 teachers or teachings that you might recommend that they go to?
Number 1 is Rod Stryker, Yoga Rupa Rod Stryker, PARAYOGA.com. Par Yoga. Boom. That's my main teacher. Taught the yoga, tantric based, Sri Vidya lineage, all steeped in the goddess. Other Hatha influence is Abby and her teacher Naveen of Katona Yoga. So in upstate New York, in Westchester, it's Katona Yoga, Katonah.
I want to get out there somehow
yoga.
and interview her.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
Now that you've interviewed Abby, you have to go interview Naveen. And then in the city, it's thestudio.yoga with Abby.
I have a private with her tomorrow.
What time?
10:30. Before 3 more recordings tomorrow. I'm super excited.
Wow.
Yeah, I went to her class earlier this week and actually brought my assistant Lisa.
10:30.
Yeah.
I might even come and just observe.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that would be beautiful.
She lets me I teach there on Mondays at 4, and she lets me observe sometimes.
Yeah, she's great. She knows what to do with me pretty well.
Oh my God. And then the third, it's 3 and 4. I'm so sorry. I have 2 Kundalini teachers.
Okay.
I really have 3 Kundalini teachers that I really love and worth mentioning. One is Hari Kaur, the Treehouse NYC. 2 is Paramatma Siri Sadhana. She also works in New York City. She's been sitting with Yogi Bhajan since she was 5.
Wow.
She's so potent. In her late 30s, just the most potent human I've met in ever. Her space weather service, I do not like astrology, and listening to her space weather service makes a lot of sense for me. And it's astrology, but it's also the general overview of what's needed at this time. She's a adept in Satnam Rasayan too. And lastly, Kia Miller. Kia Miller is the person who helped me understand how to fuse Hatha Yoga and Kundalini Yoga into one practice that helped my body feel grounded when I got to the Kundalini aspect of the practice. Because I was taking off.
Yeah.
Too high.
Yeah, Kundalini can space you out.
Yeah.
You got to do a lot of grounding.
So it's good to have both. And she taught me what that would look like and feel like and how to do it.
Cool. Beautiful. We'll put all those in the show notes. And then lastly, where are the websites and social media, et cetera, that you'd like to send the listeners to?
ElenaBrower.com, PracticeU.com, ArtOfAttention.com, my first book. And that has some really nice meditation courses on there too that are great and evergreen and still awesome. I listen to them every few months to make sure I still like them. And teach.yoga, which is a forum. It's a website, beautiful website where the teachers from all over the world, we've got like 50, 60 countries, write short, intentionally short pieces on topics like sacred space, connection. We have a group of luminaries that we're constantly growing. It's just a beautiful undertaking that really is by the teachers for the teachers. And we have about now almost 9,000 that get an email every single week from me, a little love note from me, very short. And like almost half of them open it every week.
Wow, that's an insane open rate. I mean, from online marketing perspective,
I know.
That's huge.
It's insane. I keep it specifically very short, and I always feature other teachers' work, other books, etc. And it's a great pleasure to have a place for these folks to land and then share.
Oh, that's great. Well, we'll put all of those in the show notes, and hopefully a few of our listeners will be getting your email soon as well.
Thank you.
So namaste. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much.
And now, my friends, I'm going to give you a choice. You've got some good news and some bad news. Which one you want to hear first? All right, I'm listening. Oh, you want the bad news first. Okay, let's just get that over with. The bad news is that this interview with Elena Brower is officially over. Womp, womp, womp. I'm sorry, but they got to end at some point. I can't just keep going and going. I mean, I guess I could make it a double episode, but, sometimes we just got to wrap it up. So that's the bad news. It's over. Finito. If you want to hear it, you got to click rewind and go back and do it again. However, I promise you I have some good news. You know what it is? Drum roll, please. Let me drum roll on the mic. The good news is that I will be back next Tuesday for episode number 102 with Ruby Warrington of The Numinous, where we talk about how to live like a mystic in the 3D material world. Pretty cool stuff. Ruby is, like Elena, just a fantastic human being, a very powerful woman doing cool stuff in the world. I got to sit down with her also on a trip to New York City, and that is not one that you want to miss. So come back next Tuesday. Here's the deal, though. If you don't subscribe to the podcast, it's quite possible that you're going to miss some of the upcoming episodes. So just reach down to your device right now and click subscribe on this podcast so you don't miss any of the episodes. You don't have to listen to them on Tuesdays when they come out, but at least this way they will be on your device so you can listen to them whenever you want. So do yourself a favor, click subscribe so you're loaded up with the Lifestylist podcast. But here's what's up. If you really want to be a super fan and you want to move the needle, there's a couple different things you can do. You can share this episode with a friend right now. Like seriously, pause the podcast, screen grab this show, put it on your Instagram live, put it on your Instagram page if you don't really care if your page looks that crappy. I wouldn't post the cover of a podcast on my main feed, but I'm picky. Point is, let people know that you're listening to this show. That's really the best way that you can kind of support what I'm doing. I'm creeping up on 1 million downloads. That's my goal for 2017. You can help me get there by sharing this episode with your friends on social media or just shooting an email or a text to someone who you think will dig this episode with Elena. All right, so thank you so much for listening. I'm living the dream. It's a lot of work to put out a podcast, but it is worth it because you get to hear my voice and the voice of all the fantastic guests that I'm able to feature. So thank you so much for listening, and I will be back at you next Tuesday with Ruby Warrington.